there's some really interesting things with fasting blood sugar while you're in a fast, right? So it's called fast glucose level because under normal conditions, they expect you to fast for 8 hours. The thing that is often ignored is that fasting glucose levels have a huge amount of variation in your diet, on basically on not just the individual, but also your diet within the first really anywhere from 8 to 36 hours plus. And I mentioned, that I was going to use fasting glucose levels to determine like when I should stop my fast and adjust my diet and things like that. Verify some results. And so I really wanted to discuss this first because I want to show everybody and take this live just to show this kind of craziness, because this is something that most doctors, dietitians, etc., like that they don't really understand. Even most professional trainers and things like that, they don't know. So the crazy thing about fasting glucose, when you're actually doing a long-term fast, so we're talking, very little. We're talking less than 200 calories a day, preferably zero, for a true fast, like a water fast. And for the normal person eating a normal diet, what they're going to see, or should say the traditional American / Western diet, what they're going to see is that whenever they take, like if you take your fasting glucose at the 8-hour mark, okay, you're going to see one of two things happen depending on the meal composition of your last meal. If you ate a mainly protein and fat-based meal, you're going to see that number stay level for quite a bit more time. But if you're eating something that was carbohydrate-based or more easily processed, you're going to see that number fluctuate much more rapidly. So normally speaking, by 8 hours, people are done with the dip. So at usually around the 5-hour mark or so, most people are going to see the diet, their fasting glucose dip down below what the initial fasting, or what their initial glucose was before eating, and they're going to start to see it rise. And in both cases, whether or not you ate a protein-based meal, and again, this is all science-based, guys. I'm not making this up. And I've got dozens of observations on myself and other people that show the same thing. But there's something called gluconeogenesis that occurs when you eat mainly protein-based meals, and both protein and fat slow down digestion of food. So it's very normal for people to have an extended period of fasting glucose, of higher fasting glucose, after they eat and after that initial 8 hours. But right now, because of my diet and everything like that, which has not been fantastic, my diet and drinking habits the last 3 months, I'm expecting my fasting glucose right now in this very moment to be probably high 90s. And that's what I'm going to guess. I mean, it's been a little while since I ate. So right now it's like I had a little bit of a snack early in the morning, like, 8 hours, 8 hours plus ago. And if you don't have it yet and you want to do something like this little kit from Walgreens you can pick up. Of course, you can pick up from Walgreens, Walmart, anywhere, a little blood glucose meter. And the strips can be expensive. They're about usually about $1 a piece if you don't have them covered under insurance. But it's really simple. Again, make sure your hands are clean. I just washed them recently. I'm not going to really go over this too much detail. Again, make sure your hands are clean. I just washed them recently. I'm not going to really go over this too much detail, but I'm going to do this right here in front of everybody. So I got a live recording to show that, hey, right now, here's what my glucose is. Because at the between the 24 to 48 hour period, usually around 24 or 36 hours, I don't know what's going to be this time, we'll have to see. But by 48 hours, my glucose is going to be 110. And it's going to stabilize at 110 and then slowly dip down. And typically, it's going to take at least 5 days at the point that I'm at now, being a little bit heavier and eating the way that I have been, for me to fully deplete my glucose. Because right now, I'm on the heavy side. The good news about that is it means that I should be able to shed that weight quicker. So, go on your settings. I got mine just on a 3. You get your, one of the things that I like to do is I like to set up to insert my stick inside the meter first and then try to do this really quickly. There is an auto shut off period. If I massage your finger, get a nice little blood droplet, and let's see where I'm at. So this is also going to show that, yeah, I've been fasting, so you're not going to see anything too crazy, at least I hope not. And let's see what it is here. 106. Okay. That's, this isn't going to show my point too well. Although what we will see, again, is that you're going to see, you know what, it might not have been a full 8 hours yet since my last meal. That's possible. So I'll try this, I'll do this again in the morning as well. But the important thing that you're going to see is that, like, I mean, well, this is also going to be one of the crazy things, is it's going to go up to around 110 to 115 after not eating for several days. And then that's when you're going to see it slowly dip down. So anyway, there's the reading for right now, like 106. Again, this may be a little bit shy of 8 hours. I'll take it again in the morning, but hopefully with everything put together, everyone's going to see that fasting, like when you are doing an extended fast, that fasted glucose does go up while you're not eating anything. Now, of course, that's also scientifically validated as well, because what happens is your body starts to release all that stored glucose. And that's the sign that you actually are losing that glucose and that water weight. And the reason why there's water weight associated with glucose is because when your body stores, glucose, it has to store water with it, right? And it's also the reason why the body prefers to store fat instead of glucose. So glucose is more readily available, but it takes a lot more weight and storage space effectively, right, to store the glucose. So your body prefers to store fat. It's much more calorically dense, right? So you've got 1 gram of fat, has 9 calories, where 1 gram of glucose has 4, and the fat doesn't require the water weight with it. So it's also one of the reasons too, which makes fat a little bit harder to mobilize, because it's not meant to be readily available. It's meant to be a long-term reserve energy source. And that's another reason too why you've got to deplete all your glycogen to really start burning your fat, to like really start burning your fat. You're going to hear professional trainers and other people talking about a lot of ways to like trick your body to release fat and a lot of things. Several of them are quite legit, right? Like if you have an elevated heart rate for more than 30 minutes, it tends to release fat for storage because your body's burning up a lot of its readily available glycogen and glucose, and it's going to try to get all the energy that it can. So there are a lot of cases where it's true, but the primary way, or the primary energy that you burn in the day is just from being alive, right? And so the way that you switch from burning off that excess glucose to the fat is making sure that your body doesn't have the glucose that it needs. And the only way you're going to do that is through very severe caloric deprivation. And the studies back that up as well, that people doing fasting and very severe caloric deprivation, that they tend to lose the most weight, both short-term and long-term. So I get like one person popping in this video from time to time. I know I'm super popular here and everybody wants to see my wonderful beard and my half shirtless body here. At any rate, so I'll take this again in the morning and I'll post it. I think it probably will dip a little bit before it comes back. Of course, the other thing is, hey, I could be on that upswing now because my last big meal was about 24 hours ago. So I don't know exactly where I'm at. Like, I just kind of jumped into it today. But the whole point is that we're going to see, okay, that's my fasting glucose right now, and we're going to see it maintain at that for multiple days. And yeah, that is something that most professionals involved in diet, whether it be doctors, dietitians, nutritionists, professional trainers, they don't know that. Everybody, this is one of the reasons too why common sense, and the whole make sense question is so BS sometimes. Because if I said, hey, if your fasting glucose after 8 hours of not eating is 90, do you think it's going to go up or down? And everybody's going to say, oh, well, it will go down because you're not eating, and that's what makes sense. And I agree, it makes sense, but it's not accurate, right? So it also makes sense, again, what I said, that your body's going to start releasing all of these stored glucose in your body, and therefore that's why it's going to go up. So that's just another, fun thing to throw in here. I love throwing that out to doctors, nutritionists, and pro trainers and things like that, and say, hey, my baseline fasting glucose was 90, which is normally in the 90s for how I eat when I'm actually controlling this more. So, hey, it was in the 90s. I haven't eaten for 48 hours. What do you think my fasting glucose is going to be? Every single one of them that I've ever talked to, now granted, that hasn't been a whole lot. It's been maybe 10, 20. But every single one that I've talked to says, oh, well, it's going to go down. It should be like, I don't know, maybe 70. No, it's 110 to 115 is what it normally is. Because again, your body still has that stored glucose that it can release while you're fasting and while you're calorically deprived. And again, it's usually for me in my fasting for right now, I think it's going to take between 3 to 5 days to really see it drop, and really for the 5th, maybe 6th day to get down to the 70s. And that's at the point where I want to start eating again, like a bit, because that's where I know, okay, I'll have an accurate weight measurement to really start taking, the scale measurements again, which do have some inaccuracy, but it's where I can really start taking those weight measurements and those photos to say, hey, this is real weight, because up until that point, if I start eating again, I'm gonna gain that. I could potentially gain that back even in a day or two. Like, it's really not that hard, especially if you're an amateur competitive eater like myself and you do some gorge meals. You have the potential to gain that back very quickly. Of course, most people, when they start to break a diet, they do it very gradually. And so they'll see that 10 pounds come back normally over the course of a couple weeks, often maybe even up to a month, as they start gradually eating a little bit more close to their normal diet. And yeah, their body's going to take all that excess glycogen and just store it little bit by little bit, like, when they lost it. So that's why it's real important not to consider that weight like a real weight loss, because you will gain it back. And it's one thing if you're looking at fitting in a dress or, an outfit or something like that for, we're just looking a little bit better, because if you lose that glycogen and water weight, you will look less puffy, you'll look more trimmed. And so, that's great for, for those events and doing that. So by all means. But anyway, I don't want to rant too much about it. I just wanted to get that officially on a live record, still with my beard, still saying, hey, that's what I'm at right now. I'll check it again in the morning. We'll see if I was already in the upswing or not. But it's going to be around 110 to 115 for a full 48 plus hours before it starts dipping again. And so we'll see that in these initial results too. And I think that's really great to chronicle on live videos, because also most people that I tell, hey, that's what happens, they're like, nah, even though it is absolutely 100% scientifically proven. There's no doubt. It's in all the literature, except people they don't put it together because they're thinking about quote unquote common sense over scientific fact, which of course, particularly in America, we've got a lot of issues with right now too. So anyway, that's it for now. So we got the blood sugar reading. We'll keep an eye on that, and yeah, it's fasting time. So until next time.